following story is not meant to represent any public figure. Even if it was, it is meant to wake him up and realize that he's helping to ruin the country. This next part, we've been working on for quite a while, and I think we've done it justice. It's a story of Pinocchio. And we've changed it a little bit. It's now Bennochio Nelson. And let me give you a little background. In 1940, this movie came out, and the world was embattled in World War II. The Americans weren't yet in it. And, it was a feeling of a little bit of fear and trepidation on the part of Americans. And this movie came out. It was about a guy, Geppetto, who made a puppet, and he wanted the puppet to be his son, a real son. And the son had to have a conscience, and Jiminy Cricket became his conscience, and then they went through a little bit of a life story and just the effect that a boy and his conscience and their battle to become a real boy. Well, we've changed it up a little bit, and it's a story now of Bennochio Nelson and his story on how he wants to be a real public servant. So let's start that up, and I hope you enjoy it. The story of Bennochio Nelson.
Starlight, star bright, first star I see tonight. I wish I might have the wish I wish tonight. Figaro, you know what I wished for? I wish that my little Bennochio would somehow come to life and become a public servant. A real public servant. Well, Figaro, let's go to bed now.
Little puppet made of pine, awake, the gift of life is thine.
I can move! I can talk! Ha-ha! I can walk!
Yes, Bennochio Nelson, I've given you life.
Why?
Because tonight, your father wished for a real public servant.
Am I a real public servant?
No, Bennochio Nelson. To make your father's wish come true will be entirely up to you.
Up to me?
Prove yourself brave, truthful, and unselfish, and someday you will be a real public servant.
A real public servant?
You must learn to choose between right and wrong.
Right and wrong? But how will I know?
Your conscience will tell you.
What's a conscience?
What are conscience? I'll tell you. A conscience is that still, small voice that people won't listen to. That's just the trouble with the world today.
Are you my conscience?
Would you like to be Bennochio Nelson's conscience?
Oh, sorry about that, Cricket. I guess I can be your conscience, lad.
Who are you?
The name's Ian McCracken. I was just here for a house degradation estimate.
Well, I guess you'll have to do. Kneel, Mr. McCracken.
No tricks, fairy.
I W. Bennochio Nelson's conscience, Lord High Keeper of the knowledge of right and wrong, counselor in moments of temptation, and guide along the straight and narrow path. Arise, Sir Ian McCracken.
I will. Just as soon as I scrape what's left of this cricket off the bottom of my shoe.
Now remember, Bennochio Nelson, always be a good public servant, and always let your conscience be your guide.
Well, Bennochio Nelson, it looks like it's just you and me now. Maybe you and I should sit down and have a heart-to-heart talk.
Why?
Are you daft? You want to be a real public servant, don't you?
Uh-huh.
Well, sit down, lad. Now let me explain. Now you see, the world is full of temptations.
Temptations?
Right? There's the wrong things that seem right at the time. Or you might want to be popular. Or you might just think that the people who elected you are just idiots and won't remember how poorly you represented them. Understand?
No. But I'm gonna do right.
Aye. It's harder than you think. You gotta stand for principles, lad.
Principles?
Hey, Principles are a set of values you have that you won't cave in no matter what happens to you.
Principles and values? I just don't understand.
Oh, that fairy has let me with a pile of wood here. Here's a few things that we're gonna do, little Bennochio Nelson. First of all, if you need to get in touch with your conscience, just whistle.
I don't know how to whistle.
I know you've been made a partial public servant, but in order to be a real public servant, you gotta know what your conscience is telling you, lad. So just whistle when you want to get a hold of me. You're gonna have to whistle louder than that, you little pansy. Try it again.
I don't know if I can do it.
Okay, little Bennochio. The other thing is, if you tell a lie, and this is important to remember, your nose is gonna grow.
My nose will grow.
Aye, and people are gonna be able to tell you when you're lying. You might think you're fooling most of the people, but when your nose starts growing, it's gonna be a giveaway, lad. So remember that when you're giving speeches to the Nebraska citizens, that they're gonna see right through you.
I promise to do everything I can to serve only the people of Nebraska.
Oh, that's a bad start there, laddie. You got to stand for principles there.
Principles?
Aye, principles. You know what principles are?
No, I don't.
Oh, you might be unteachable. All right, I'm going to explain to you, Bennochio Nelson. You're going to have to do some public speaking here, and you're going to have to tell the truth. Because if you don't, again, your nose is going to grow and people will be able to tell. Now, let's test it out here. You got about a minute and a half speech to tell what you've done in the past. Let's see how it works.
Today, the Senate approved historic health reform. Let me be clear, it is not a government-run insurance program. It meets the principles I laid out for Nebraskans last summer, that it must hold down spending, help our small businesses improve care, control costs, and most importantly, work for Nebraska.
Cut! Oh, somebody grab me a saw, quick! All right, Bennochio. Now don't go into such detail. Just throw out some CBO numbers. They haven't gotten it right yet. Now give it another try, lad. Go!
The Nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office estimates the bill will save $132 billion over the first 10 years and as much as $1.3 trillion over the second 10 years until 2029. That's cost control. Our small businesses will have access to a new small business health options program where they can pool together for better insurance coverage and tax credits to help them cover employees. The bill improves care by eliminating pre-existing conditions and the dropping of coverage when you get sick. It lowers costs because it is fully paid for and includes $447 billion returned to middle-class Americans.
Cut! Bennochio, it's okay to quote statistics, but don't make claims you have no idea about, lad. Give me that saw again, quick! All right, Bennochio, now keep your speech to generalizations. My arm's getting tired here.
And it works for Nebraska. It has grants for doctors serving in rural areas, a Medicaid expansion ensuring about 80,000 more Nebraskans, and it promotes competition, but not government-run health care. And as a result, Nebraskans will obtain better care at lower cost.
All right, Bennochio, come here, lad. I think that we're gonna need more help. One conscience just isn't enough for you, lad. Will his conscience straighten out, Bennochio Nelson? Will he become a real public servant? These questions and more next time on Bennochio Nelson, Public Servant.